I am Feel It.
And I am Fix It. And we talk about life.
And stuff and things.
With the occasional rant.
Which you will have no problem doing. I'm sorry, do you want me to talk first? Is that what we're waiting for?
Hello, how are you?
I would have.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whichever you're currently having. Hope you're having a good one.
Absolutely. And hello, everyone.
Yes, hi.
As you're staring at
weird
me
place,
and pointing,
weird place.
and I was like, am I misreading something?
No, pre-recording, we get settled and we get moving and whatnot, and I've got the recording set so I can check the levels, and I realized that the microphone's picking up my knuckles crack.
Oh, I had no idea.
It actually showed up on the
Well, I'm sorry.
on the scale.
I thought you were waiting for me to say something.
I thought it was funny.
Happy podcast anniversary.
Why, thank you. Yeah. It's been a year. It's definitely
yeah.
Which is kind of surprising. It's been a year.
Yeah. And we were pre-recorded several before we actually launched last year, but that was just our own schedule and getting used to things. And
yes,
we probably should pre-record more now, but whatever.
Yeah, we probably should. What are you gonna do?
That's okay.
Life.
This actually technically will be pre-recorded because we had made plans.
Yes.
And that's okay. It's still important to note the anniversary.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And it will be special by you declaring that you had knuckle cracks that no one's going to hear as you delete them out.
I don't delete them. They'll still be there.
And turn them into the intro.
But I'll put the intro over top of them, so you'll never know they were there.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to spoil the magic there.
You're fine. I was just kind of surprised. I didn't think these microphones were quite that sensitive.
Oh, I have no doubt. Who knows what they're picking up through the open door right now on the...
Well, I know they can tell every time you touch the arm.
I know.
It hears it.
I know.
Yeah.
And probably drinking my cocoa or tea or whatever. Like right now, it's cocoa.
Mm-hmm. I got my water. Yeah. This is fascinating. I can't believe no more people are listening to us talk about this.
Fascinating.
Stuff. Fascinating. Yes.
Fascinating. It's just been a lazy day, a lazy weekend. I have not done near the things I said I would, should have, could have, whatever. I got immersed in Daredevil. Again, I know I'm late to the game. Okay, late to the party. Kind of been a little busy last several years.
Yeah. And the upside of streaming services, you can just do it. You're not waiting week to week.
I have found myself. I like that better. I like to just sit and watch hours and hours. Like it's kind of like anticipating something. Even like 1923, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, nope, let's save up a few and watch them.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of like to just be able to sit for hours. And because nice. I have several seasons, then this is hours.
Yes.
Was it 13 episodes a season or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
And I'm fascinated. I'm absolutely fascinated. And I wasn't a Daredevil, comic book fan.
No.
I'm not a huge, reinvention fan.
Yeah, and I think they did a pretty good job.
I remember the Ben Affleck movie.
Yeah. But I think overall they do a good job of not just sticking to fan service. It's
His eyes are so creepy.
Oh yeah, he did a phenomenal job.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, very much so. However,
and having, it's comic book based, right? But having my own stimulus issues, I do find that fascinating, the way that they try to incorporate that and show that. But yes, anyway, right? So haven't been quite as productive as I woulda, coulda, shoulda. Had to share that for any fan that might be listening. Yup, it swallowed me up.
Yep. Well, and we've been our listeners, the numbers have consistently gone up. We're We're not trending. I'll just say that much. But
That's okay.
it's like we've got better than a dozen people a week
Whoever
checking
wants
in.
to hear can hear.
So hey,
That's fine with me.
yeah, glad to have you along for the ride.
Absolutely.
Still waiting on that email.
Can hear about the circus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. And because I was in a place that I said, hey, you get to choose if what we're going to do. You want to just talk? And we certainly could have just talked. And we will.
Yeah.
Really. It's an interesting prompt that you found.
I thought so.
And we're curious to know where this goes. So I shall read it.
Sure.
When you finally learn that a person's behavior has more to do with their own internal struggle than it ever did with you, you learn grace. So true.
Yeah.
And that takes a extreme amount of humility. And as in our last episode when we were talking about anger and how, I mean, that was just within the prompt, but any heightened emotion, right?
Yeah.
That gets you going and gets the water boiling and you're not seeing clearly.
Anything, and there's a lot of things that bring the heat.
Grace is a whole different thing. That's not just forgiveness.
No.
That's not just, and as this points out, you got to kind of get in touch with what's going on with a person.
Sure.
Right? To have any calm of your own.
Mm-hmm.
But grace, that's a whole different level.
Well, and I've heard many different ways of kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Your life gets easier when you realize that people aren't against you; they're for themselves. Kind of a similar kind of thing. Another way of kind of putting it is never blame. I'm not trying to remember the exact words, but never attribute to malice, which can be explained by ignorance.
Yes, you've said that before.
And they're all kind of saying very similar things, except what your response can be. It's like, it's like they're not evil; they're ignorant. They're not working against you; they're working for themselves. Okay, now what are you going to do with that? Can you still be, as an individual, as a person, you can still be, I can't believe they did that to me. Well, yeah, you could do that. Or you could, the dog just ran away. Anyway, or you could look at that and
somebody just shut the door.
And somebody just shut the door. Anyway, it's like, what are you going to do with those kind of feelings? It's like, well, that's where I think grace can come in. It's like, yeah, you know what? The person that cut you off, they didn't cut you off. They were in a hurry and they changed lanes abruptly and improperly. But they weren't doing it to cut you off. They were trying to get to where they're going. And that one's particularly irksome for me. I think anybody that drives in traffic a lot can kind of attest. It's like that just kind of takes you off. But if you really think about it, why? They didn't do it to you. You weren't even a blip on their radar. It's...
But grace in the spiritual sense is unwarranted favor.
Yes.
And it is you do not deserve.
Yes.
So in the context of this, you are providing a reconciliation to an individual, whether or not they deserve it. Whether or not they even know that it's necessary.
Well, and I don't even think it necessarily goes as far as reconciliation, as even just giving them the consideration. It's like, yeah, you know what, you didn't.
Everybody's got their stuff.
Oh yeah, everybody's got stuff. We've got stuff. They've got stuff. I guarantee I have inadvertently cut people off or turned in when it's like I guarantee it had nothing to do with anybody else that was on the road.
You're talking about a very specific
kind of thing.
Cutting people off in traffic.
Well, I can honestly say I've never intentionally cut anybody off, ever. But, not saying I didn't do it, or haven't done it. It was just
a different category of comparison. But I get
yeah,
what you're
but
saying.
I mean, that's, that's a day-to-day, that's a daily kind of, it's not very often that, somebody eats your lunch, or, throws your lunch away because they're cleaning the fridge, not realizing that it had today's date on it, that kind of thing. Just people.
Well, this is an internal struggle.
Yeah, well, I mean,
what happens within us will come out of us.
Sure. Well, and yeah, typically when somebody's squeezed or something is squeezed, what's on the inside is what comes out. But if you look at people's behavior, we've actually rabbit trail, but
I'm ready.
we'll come back to it.
Bring it on.
It's everybody's going through something. And chances are everybody's going through a bunch of somethings. And it's very easy to just be mad because their behavior is crappy or their attitude is crappy and they hurt you. All of this kind of stuff that just comes through every day, all day. If you're interacting with people, at some point somebody's going to do something that's inconveniencing, if not hurtful. Something that you would want to attest to malice. Well, the only thing that's going to do is ruin your attitude and ruin your day, and it's going to become personal, and you're going to get very emotional. That's where I think that's like you once you move beyond that. Look what they did to me. It's like they didn't do it to you. They did it, and you happen to be affected by it. But they did it for reasons you can't, you don't know and you don't understand, and maybe you couldn't understand because you're not going through what they're going through. And if you step back, allow yourself to be calm in the moment, and he's like, okay, they're obviously going through something. And you can just let it wash out. Instead of holding on to that, he cut me off. She, whatever. They spoke to me mean or whatever. Whatever it happens to be. They hosed me over on the promotion or whatever it happens to be. When you understand that... Okay, let me back up just a little bit. Similar kind of thought. Something I learned from writing fiction is if your character is one-dimensional, it's boring. There's an idea that nobody thinks they're the bad guy. In their personal narrative, what they're doing is justified based on the situation they're in and their history.
Okay.
If you take that same kind of mentality to the people you're interacting with and the bad interactions that you have with people, the rude guy at the gas station that was being rude, that was being mean to everybody in line because he was in a hurry, or like I said, the person who cut you off in traffic, or the person that shoved by you trying to get to the whatever it was on the counter, whatever happens to be. There's a million little small, inconsiderate, rude things, and all of them you could rightfully say, hey, you did that to me, you were rude to me, you were mean to me, you were cruel, you broke the law, whatever it happens to be. You can, to a degree, step back and think about, they're not the villain in their story.
Oh, no.
Whatever it is that they just did, they have a level of justification for it.
Or so they
I'm not saying it's justified. But
it's perceived.
There's, I've talked to people before about stuff that they weren't doing right, or people. I fix broke stuff, and things generally don't break themselves. People usually do something cause the problem. I have, on a number of occasions, told people, I don't want the excuse. I want the reason. You goofed up. There's no excuse for that goof up. But there's a reason for that goof up. Nothing you're going to tell me is going to excuse the fact that you goofed up. But something can give me the reason why it happened. And maybe if we deal with the reason, this will never come up again.
Sure.
If you just tell me, well, I had to. No, you didn't. It's a little tangential to the... But that's where it's like, there are times when I'm lacking in that grace, because sometimes you got to give sometimes a harsh lesson is the only lesson that's learned. But even in that, I come at it with it's not like he tried, this person tried to mess up the machine. That wasn't what they were going for. Oh, yeah, let's see if this breaks it. That's not what they were doing.
Ownership. I think it's the ownership
they weren't,
piece.
Yeah, there is a difference between a reason and an excuse.
Yeah, there is.
It's like an excuse is, this is why you have to not hold it against me. That's an excuse. Like, no, I'm sorry. That's kind of, I mean, what's the reason? Like, if you understand the reason, then you can excuse it in some cases. Like, okay, why was this guy driving like an idiot? Well, you know what? He's late for a doctor's appointment he's been waiting for 6 months. Or this lady that's whatever. It's like her kid's sick at school, and she's rushing to pick him up, and she's kind of panicked because it's never happened before.
We go back to the undeserved favor. Right?
Exactly. It's like you can give grace. It's like you don't know the situation. If you knew the situation, maybe you wouldn't be so angry about it, or so personally hurt. Yeah, this is true. And even if it still bothers you. It's like nobody likes getting cut off in traffic.
Well, what was it about this one that spoke to you, that you felt like you needed to pick it?
I thought it was just an interesting topic. And I know at times it's something I'm pretty good about being very easygoing with people's mistakes, specifically mistakes. I don't care if you make a mistake. I really don't care if people make an actual mistake. They were doing something, they thought it was right, it wasn't right. Or they didn't know what they were doing and they made a best guess and they were completely off kilter. You know what? I don't have a problem with that. I've never had a problem with that. Because that's how you learn. That's the mindset it's like with the mindset of you were trying something, it didn't work out. Well, let's figure out what's going to work for next time. Not a problem. Let's figure this out. I can have grace in that situation because I've been there. And I want people to push their boundaries, push their limits, and do stuff. But at the same time, I didn't have that mindfulness of they did that trying. Not, well, they're just such an idiot. These morons shouldn't be doing that. Well, they don't know any better. I understand that they didn't know any better. So I can give them the grace to not get mad at the situation. And then to help them figure out the best possible outcome. Like, for instance, again, the getting cut off in traffic. That's one I'm going to keep coming back to because it's one we can all relate to. Well, most people can relate to. If they had a way of telling you, hey, I'm really in a hurry, and you'd let them in, if they could communicate the reason, you wouldn't have a problem with it. Well, maybe you can just assume instead of they're just jerk drivers, you could make the assumption that there's something going on in their life and they're in a hurry. And now, with that mindset, you back off a little bit. Let them go by. And now your day's not ruined. You're not spending the rest of your drive steaming, angry, and ticked off, which can cascade throughout the rest of your day.
And that's fair, yep, because those things can eat at us.
Oh, yeah.
That is the point. Right?
It's so easy to have a bad day if you give everybody the ability to ruin your day. And I think...
Not everyone's even understanding of the fact that they do that they allow that.
Well, I mean... Your toast got burnt, and they got your order wrong at the drive-thru, and now the rest of your day is just a horrific mess. Your attitude sucks, so you can't see the good things that are happening, and your attitude sucks with your interactions with people. It's a cascade. Well, why is everybody being so snotty? Well, because you're being a jerk to them, because somebody burnt your toast and got your order wrong.
I think my threshold's a bit higher than that.
Sure.
But
I mean, I think we've all seen it, and I think we've all experienced a little something bad happened in the morning. Your toothbrush broke, or your comb's missing, or your hairdryer exploded. Or you get caught in traffic, just it's like, or the place that your drive-through spot for breakfast on the way to work is closed for some reason or another. Power goes out in the middle of the night, so you oversleep, and now your day, everything's like massively behind. there's something knocks over that first domino, and now your mood is cascading worse and worse and worse, where you could just, with an attitude change, with a mindset change, even if it's a cognitive, change. This didn't happen to me. It happened. There's no, it wasn't an intent, unless somebody legitimately woke up in the morning across town and said, you know what I'm going to do tonight? I'm going to ruin Fix-It's day. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drive over by their house and run my car into the phone pole and knock out power for his block, but only his block.
That would make me upset.
And, it's like, if my car is still running, when he finally does leave for work, even though he's going to be late, when he does leave for work, I am going to make sure I get right in front of him and make sure he can't speed up fast enough to get. Do you really think that's happening? No, and that's what you have, that's what you have to kind of believe is, I can't believe this person did that to me. They didn't do it to you. They're not against you. They're for themselves. Which is a problem in and of itself. There's a lot of selfishness in that statement. But inherently, most people, that's the mindset.
All makes sense to me, yes.
That's most people are in it for themselves. Probably more so than they'd like to believe. But when you can take that whole situation and let that, it's like, I can't believe this person did that to me, and they did this, and then this person did this, and then this person did this, and now your day's, it's like, I'm just going to have a lousy day, and I'm going to start over tomorrow. Like, no, you know what? You can start over right now. You can start over right now. As somebody with a very short fuse, who can get very irritated very quickly, you can start over right now. You know what? Nobody did anything to me. People did stuff, and it affected me, but they didn't do it to me. Through their mistakes, their poor judgment, their ignorance, or sometimes just bad luck. And if I can internalize that, they didn't do it to me. It just happened.
And often that's hard for people to.
Well, especially when your steam's shooting out of your ears like a Looney Tunes cartoon. It's like, okay.
Most people don't get there, though. Like that it happens.
I want to smack somebody with a ball peen hammer. It happens. You have those days.
It's not intentional for you.
And that's the thing. Sometimes it's hard. And some days you're just frustrated. And then something happens that just kind of pushes you over the edge. It's like, why are you frustrated? Well, sometimes you just are. But
sometimes you just are.
sometimes that's just the gear your brain is in. What can you do? You work on it. That's what you do. But if you can look at it, step back, look at the totality of the situation. And one, it's not personal. They're not actually doing something against you. It isn't the fates. It's not these people. It's not karma. It's just sometimes stuff happens.
And it doesn't mean that you have to have some big, joyful
grin
on your face.
No.
While you're
in that kind of
yourself to manifest the grace.
No, in that situation, in that completely hypothetical and is never going to happen situation, it's like my power's out, I'm late for work, and I got to drive really slow, and it's driving me nuts.
Oh, it sounds like that cliche 80s country song.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you got to be happy that all those things are happening, because stuff's still happening. But how much ego do you have to think that the world is doing this personally to you?
You think that's ego?
Oh, that's ego. How? I can't believe that happened to me. Oh, really? It just happened to you? Really? Just you? Like the power goes out. Okay, the power goes out. Did it just go out to you? No, it's the whole freaking neighborhood. Or the whole block. Or the whole town. It wasn't just you. It's like the world didn't do that to you. It just happened.
I can say for as long as the feces circus may last, it sometimes does feel that way.
Oh, yes.
I don't ever want to take that from somebody.
No.
But it is my job to help people reframe some of those thought processes to have a much healthier outlook.
Sure. The manure storms of life do happen. And they happen. they're big storms. They're not typically like it's not like a manure spreader drove by and threw it on your lawn. We're talking Hurricane Katrina of poo storms.
Yeah.
I understand. They happen.
They
You know, people, a lot of it usually revolves around either health or finances. You know, work falls apart, the market falls apart, somebody gets sick, and you're trying to hold your life together in the midst of all of this crap falling on your head. But at the same time, with very few exceptions, of course, because there's always exceptions, it's something that's happening to you. It's not being done to you. There isn't some overarching individual out there personally trying to screw up your day.
No.
Now, somebody's actions may have done something that screwed up your day. Like, which has happened here, somebody wiped out at the intersection up the road and took out the power. Their actions affected my day, but they didn't go, oh, I'm going to ruin Fix-It's night and hit the pole. That's not what happened. They were having a bad day of their own, probably a worse day than just my power going out. Well, I guarantee, they're having a worse day.
Well, this prompt speaks to internal struggle.
Yeah, well, and
someone's internal struggle.
And
I know I'm the one that said that it manifests. Like,
yeah, well,
it becomes something outward.
That mindset. That's an internal, personal. This is all about you as the individual. How you choose to interpret what's going on. Not to say that there aren't people out there that can actively work against you, because it happens. I've seen it. I've been on the receiving end of it. But that is such a small minority of cases. You know, the world is not a soap opera. It's not a super drama where you've got this cadre of individuals who are actively trying to disrupt your life. Life just happens like that sometimes. But if you hold on to the idea that the world is doing this stuff to you, and I've said this in a different way at different times, it's a very similar mindset to a victim mindset.
It is.
And not to say that people haven't people haven't inflicted massively traumatizing things on other people, because they do. And it's this person did this to this person. And, you know, person A was the victim, person B was the person that victimized them. That was personal. That was that individual specifically causing harm to that individual. You can still that can ruin your life and your mindset. As long as you remain in with the idea that I'm the victim and I can do nothing about it. And it's true, in that moment when it happened, there's nothing you could have done about it in most cases. But and if it's not still going on, you're now past it. Or not necessarily past it. It's in your past.
That's a good way to put it.
Let me put it backward. Put it like that. Because traumatic experiences, they leave a scar. They leave a lasting effect.
They do.
But as an individual who's been traumatized, you can stay in the mindset that I'm just a victim and the world and life is happening to me. Or you can take the mindset that happened to me. I learned from it. It's never going to happen again. I am not going to be that victim. When you get to that point, that's when you can actually heal from that trauma rather than being controlled by it. And you can use that to help other people.
There's certainly a power in that.
You know, and
it's empowering.
It is. It's taking back what someone tried to steal. You know, you when you're a victim, you lose your innocence in that situation. The thing is, you didn't lose it; it was taken, and you can take it back. But you don't take it back from that individual. You take it back from the ether, I guess. It's like you choose, and now you have it again. And that takes time, and that takes effort, and that manifests very differently for different people. But it's the same kind of, it's a similar thing. Just a more extreme version of it. So you can still change your mindset about what happened. And in this case, I wouldn't say, forgiving the person that victimized you is one thing. You might get there, you might not. It would be great if everybody who was victimized got to a strong enough, healthy enough, secure enough place to actively forgive the person that victimized them. That's a lifetime struggle, and God help you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But in a much smaller way, you can choose the mindset and how you look at it. Yeah. Even in that, the person that victimized you is not the villain in their story. Even though they probably should be. They aren't.
And if you can, the severity and the depth and width of all of it, though.
Sure.
It's not simple.
Sure. It's not simple. And I'm not trying to make it overly simplified.
I know. You've been through enough personally that I would think you do know that.
Yeah, this is, it's a complex, deep, multivariable topic that this is not the greatest kind of format for that. But bringing it back around, it's a similar kind of mindset. You can come to the healing stage where you realize that it wasn't about you. It was about them. And how they were messed up and the crap that they were going through that led them to their actions.
And there's oh goodness, I don't have a better word. Sometimes you can have pity. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you will, if you do allow this process, you will have pity for the other person.
Yeah.
Whether that be that they've never known anything extreme or difficult or complex enough in their life that they couldn't understand where, you were coming from, and it just became a bad toss-up of reactions.
Yeah.
Or they're just so petty that they view it in a way that was egocentric, whatever that might have been that didn't really take into account you.
Yeah. Well, and there's that possibility, or there's also the possibility that what they put you through is what they went through. And for them, that's normal.
Relive unhealthy. Because this talks about those internal struggles, and those internal struggles look different for everybody, even if you have the most healthy mindset.
Yeah, and
we all have our days.
There is an infinite possibility of offenses that vary from somebody moved my coffee cup to just the most horrific forms of abuse. I mean, it is a very large spectrum of possibilities, and there's just as many varying reasons why people have done it. People hurt other people trying to do the right thing. It happens.
It does.
And then people are just trying to take care of themselves and hurt others in the process. I mean, that happens a lot too. And then some people are just so hurt that the only way that they can take care of themselves is by hurting other people. Mm-hmm. It makes them feel better by comparison.
The bully syndrome.
Yeah, there's huge levels. So many different levels between the minor to the horrific. And in all of that, the deeper the trauma, the harder it is to come to a point where you can step back and look at it as they didn't do it to me as a person. They did it for themselves, which is still wrong. Not saying it's right, but it's still wrong. But it takes the weight off of you. You're not the one that's responsible for what happened to you. They are. And you can have some grace in that. And I think sometimes in the more extreme cases, I think you need to have that grace needs to be for yourself. I mean, there's nobody harder on a victim than the victim themselves when they think they could have done something to stop it.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and
we're our own best bully.
Yeah, and I mean, admittedly, the processes that we have out here for dealing with that kind of stuff, you know, the legally and all that other stuff, it's really not good for the victims. It's a hard process it makes you feel like you're, you know, it makes the victim feel like the guilty party, which is unfortunate, but you know, it's sort of understandable in the extremes. And at the same time, you hate for people to have to go through it.
Yeah.
But anyway. The dog's saying hi again. Okay.
I do want you to finish your thought, and then I have something I'd like to add.
Well, so I think that's where grace is one of the hardest things to give to people.
Maybe you're just organically going to go there. Keep going.
Yeah, well, human beings are kind of inherently selfish, which isn't necessarily a bad thing in its proper place.
We aren't capable. We were not made to be capable of Jesus level grace, right? That's his. That's his.
Yeah. Well,
what we are capable of, we are called to have. I mean,
yes.
If you're a follower, if you're a believer in Christ, then yes.
Well, and it's
that's hard to keep a focus on. Sometimes.
It is,
and if you don't know what that means or what that's supposed to look like, it's even harder.
Well, true, and you know, my kind of point is, it's like we're all kind of selfish in and of ourselves. You know, it's like because you want to have decent clothes, and you want to have a nice car and a nice place to live and good food, and you know, these things for yourself. That's inherently a self-centered, selfish attitude. That isn't a bad thing until it comes at the expense of someone else. But at what point does it become an expense for somebody else? Now, if what I kind of read into this is, now you have to understand that about yourself, and then see the other person that's doing stuff that it's annoying you, irritating you, or getting in your way with the same lens. If you expect people to forgive your foibles for pursuing your selfish actions, you know, like you want your latte, you're in a hurry, you buzz in, you know, whatever, and you're a little bit rude to somebody because you're in a hurry, or you cut in line, or you don't cut in line, you know, whatever, you step on somebody's toes, figuratively speaking. If you would like the world to have some semblance of understanding for your situation, a lot of people, I've heard a lot of times people doing stuff. It's like, well, if you just understood my situation, you wouldn't be giving me such a hard time. Like, okay, you know what? You're right. I probably wouldn't. But have you ever given that same level of consideration to the people that are doing stuff around you? Have you given them the consideration that you yourself are just calling for?
Not typically.
Because inherently we're selfish. You lose some of that selfishness by looking at other people how you want to be looked at. You give the grace that you would like to receive. Like, okay, if again, I use traffic a lot because there's a lot of driving. Anyway, it's like, if you want to have people give you some grace when you're not maintaining your lane as well as you probably should be, you know, if you're going a little slower or a little bit faster than what everybody else is doing, do you want people to give you grace and allow you to pass, or do you want them to get in your way? You know, it's like, oh, this guy's flying up behind me, I'm going to move over and slow down. Like, okay, would you want somebody to do that to you? No. Then why are you doing it to somebody else? It's a different level of grace and using that, that kind of mindset of put yourself in their shoes. Would you want that to happen to you? I think in a manner of speaking, that's grace in a lot of situations. Put yourself where they are. How would you want them to treat you? And then treat them like that. Rather than focusing it all on, well, you hurt me, so I'm going to make you pay for it. however that might be. It's like, no, you're driving like an idiot. Oh, now you got to slow down. Haha. Yeah, that's making them pay for something that inherently they didn't actually do to you, but you get my meaning. That same kind of mindset. It's like that, you understand where they're coming from. And on a lot of cases, you can't. I mean, 99% of the people that I interact with on a daily basis, going up and down the roads, heck, even at work, I don't know most people's names, not simply because there's so many of them. And I'm never in one spot for any period of time. I'm always moving around and doing stuff. Names escape me most of the time, but faces I remember. But in all of that, it's like, okay, in your interactions with them, if you were in their position, how would you want you to act? I can sweep in like a tornado, just get stuff done, get out of the way, and leave a bunch of hurt feelings in my wake. Or I can walk in there, it's like, okay, they're having a bad day. Their crap's not working. How would I want the cavalry to show up? How would I want them to act? I think it's a very similar kind of mindset. And it applies across the board in so many different ways. And I think that's where a lot of us fall flat. Societally speaking, I think that's where we fall flat. And that doesn't mean excuse poor behavior. There's a difference between having grace and being a doormat.
Yes, very much.
If someone is actively trying to be a jerk, you need to call them on it. Because in all honesty, that's the best thing that could happen to you if you were being a jerk, is to have somebody call you on it. Because growth only comes when it's challenged, when you're challenged.
Tactful, not...
It depends.
Not necessarily in...
It depends.
Tactful.
It depends. Tact is using the correct method at the correct time.
Yeah.
And sometimes the correct method is a verbal ball-peen hammer. And sometimes it's a tap on the shoulder and a whisper.
Somebody where they are. If you're...
Sometimes you need to meet them where they need to be.
Okay.
I do get what you mean though.
See, now you're just like, are you fighting semantics of words, or you just want to be right? I'm confused.
A little bit of both, yeah. No, it's...
Do you understand what I'm trying to say, or do you just want to be right?
No, you need to meet people where they need to be met. And there's
a certain way you're going to speak to somebody. It's going to go over their head. Then what was the point in trying to confront it?
Again, yeah.
That is my point.
Yes. Again, yeah.
Or trying to berate or belittle somebody to get a point across is not tactful.
No.
Sometimes that is what somebody knows.
Well, and sometimes
that doesn't mean that's what you need to do to get your point across.
There is a time and a place. It depends on the situation.
To be berating and belittling?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
There is a time and a place.
What?
It comes down to the individual that you're dealing with. Sometimes it's the only way you can get through. But you still have to do it in the correct way. Like it's like in the fundamentals of it, you never berate you praise in public and you correct in private.
Yeah. Correct.
And sometimes that correction is depending on the person, and it comes down to the person that you're you're dealing with. Sometimes you need to look at that person dead in the eye and go, "Why are you being an idiot?"
Well, there are some people I could speak to that way, and they would receive that perfectly well. And
but those same people, it's like if you tell, it's like, "Hey, buddy, that was kind of," they're never gonna. Their brain already shut off. They're not listening. So it's like there's the correct tool for the job, but you also have to keep in mind that it's not the correct tool for you. It's the correct tool for them. You have to make sure you're doing it again with that grace to meet them where they're at, to put yourself in their shoes. If you were them in that, how would you want to be approached, or would you need to be approached? Which is always tricky, especially when you don't interact with people all the time. Sometimes brevity is important, but most of the time, it's like trying to find that balance between getting it done and not being offensive is tricky. It's a line I'm still working on.
Mm-hmm. Clearly.
I have my days.
Clearly.
At the same time, I don't have a lot of time doing my job. I don't have a lot of time to spend with certain aspects of it. Sometimes you got to get your point across fast, and then come back and go, okay, do you get my point now? Do you understand? It's like, this is not personal. This is work. Over the years, the best bit of correction I ever got was the guy didn't say a freaking word. Not a freaking word. He walked over, flipped the switch that he'd showed me before, looked at me with the look on his face like, you are a freaking moron.
You
and just walked away. And that was the absolute perfect best way to hit me, so that never happened again.
Sure. That guy could read you.
Yes.
He could read other people.
Yes. Well, that was kind of his default. He'd help you a couple times and then, okay, now you're just being stupid. And that was just kind of his way of doing stuff. But I'll tell you what, holy crap. Yeah, you are never getting me with that again. However, I don't think it was a matter of grace. I think that was just old school airborne, because he was old school airborne. Anyway, it was just kind of his methodology. It's like, okay, I was nice the first couple times. Now this is all on you. However, that being said, that's
wherever you want to take this. I'm just sitting here. I'm just sitting here at this point. Was there another fork you wanted to go down?
Oh no, not necessarily. They show up and I follow them, or I don't.
Is that what you want to do? You want to fight today?
No, not.
Oh, okay.
I'm not even fighting. I'm just.
Okay.
I mean, being that we are two different people with we have very differing philosophies in life.
Sure.
And we are hardwired, physiologically speaking, into different patterns. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's just acknowledging that they exist. I tend to be more abrupt with certain things. You tend to be more touchy-feely. I want it fixed. You want to make sure they feel good about it.
Yes. I typically am working with very broken people.
Yes. And I'm not saying...
they don't need somebody to break them more.
No. And in the same position, if I was doing a job similar to yours, I would not use the same tactics that I use.
Not to say there aren't people that haven't walked in and just been like, just give it to me straight, give it to me a certain way, hit the ground running.
Sure.
That don't necessarily want the touchy-feely, and then I meet them where they are.
Yes.
But no.
But even then...
not everybody comes in that way.
No. And probably, if someone's in for counseling, I would imagine that very few of them are in that route.
Well, they just have the personality where they just want it. They just want the info. They just want the... Yes. They want the fix it.
Yes. And which, awesome. But at the same time, those are also probably the people that most need the feel it part of it. Because it's something that's most likely lacking in their lives because they don't have that experience. It's kind of...
you would be correct in that.
I'm a very kind of guy in that it's like, let's get to the point, let's get it done, and get it over with. I'm in a relationship with you, and that's not you.
Oh.
In all honesty, I am kind of I'm an emotional guy, but it doesn't manifest the same way. But when we're interacting with each other, trying to work through some stuff, the just get it done thing is not, I can't communicate that in a way that won't cause more problems. I had to dial that back and understand where you're coming from, try and come at it from, if I was in your place, what is it that I would need? And I guess wrong a lot. I'm better now, I think. I hope. But that took a little, again, inherently everybody is seeing things from their own point of view. And it takes a while to understand that other people aren't you. They don't like the things you like. They don't respond the way that you respond. They don't think the way that you think. And then to truly communicate with somebody else, to truly work something out, you have to come at it from how they hear. There's what you say and what they hear. and if you need them to understand, you have to speak in a way that they can hear. And this kind of comes back to the point. It's like you need to put yourself in their shoes, see it from their point of view, and then act in a manner appropriate for how they respond. It's like the 5 love languages thing is kind of a very popular, very well-known version of that. It's like if they've got a love tank, and you're trying to fill their love tank with compliments, words of affirmation, but they're a touch person. You're sloshing the love all over, and none of it's getting in the tank because they're not receiving what you're giving. So you have to learn how to put yourself in their position and give them what they need, how they need to receive it. Because you can't teach somebody. You can teach somebody can learn how to appreciate what someone else is doing. Like you could learn to appreciate the compliments and the words of affirmation, but it still wouldn't fill the tank the same way.
Yeah.
Communication is the same way. I can speak a certain way with certain people, and I'm not going to speak that way to you because you're not going to hear the intent. You're not going to hear the message the same way that other people are going to hear when I speak in that. I don't speak to other people the way I talk to you. I do my dangest to be the same person. Because to me, consistency is the thing. Be yourself.
You don't call anybody else baby, do you?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't. Don't ever plan on doing that.
Okay.
It's just, it's like, you're my baby. You'll always be my baby. Like, my girls were my babies, but they were legitimate babies, and you're my philosophical baby.
Wow, that just took all that right out. Thanks. That's... Woo.
Sweetie pumpkin. Lover mine.
Oh my gosh.
But, and I think that all kind of bring it around again.
You bring it around, bring that fork around, and then we'll take a little commercial break.
It's the same kind of idea, though. The whole grace concept. So you can use different words for it. It's like there's the religious concept of grace. There's the kind of socio version of it, of, as you said, undeserved favor. And I think in as much as trying to see things from other people's point of view and then letting things go rather than taking them personally is the kind of grace that it's describing. And I think that goes hand in hand with the kind of grace that I've been talking about. It's like looking at things from the other person's viewpoint, trying to put yourself in their shoes and act the way that they would want to be treated. If you were in that position, how would you want to be treated? I think it's a similar aspect to that whole kind of thing. Understand where they're coming from and then treat them at least that well. And I think the more religious version of grace is treating them better than that.
Sure, yeah.
Because I think giving people the decency of treating them how you would like to be treated, the old golden rule thing. I think that is the baseline of how people deserve to be treated. And Christian grace is more than you deserve. It's giving you the thing you don't deserve. And people don't deserve to be treated poorly, for existing. And I think that's kind of the default in a lot of cases. Like, you did this, so I'm going to treat you like crap. Like, well, okay, they did this thing that affected you, and you want to treat them like crap. But if you did the same thing to them, would you want them to treat you like crap? No? Then you treat them decent? I think that's the baseline that we should be. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a worldly grace. It's like the golden rule aspect. Treat people how you would like them to be treated. And I think the goal should be treat them better than that. You see the guy weaving in and out of traffic? Leave a hole for him. Let him get by. Give him more space to get by. It actually makes your life easier, less stressful. They didn't nearly clip you. Let him through.
There's that.
You see that guy trying to make a left turn where there is no reason to be making a left turn. Like, okay, that's silly. You should not be making a left turn here. I'm at a light. Stop. Give them room. Keep an eye out. Wave them through. Do they deserve that? No. Should they be doing that? No. The kindest thing you can do is like, go that way and turn around. But no, give them more than that. A person keeps spilling their coffee. Clean it up. Like, yeah, you left a mess. Here you go. It's all clean for you for next time. I do that a lot, actually. It's an annoyance. I don't even drink coffee at work. I clean the break room like twice a day. Does anybody need it?
Kindness.
Well, it is, but I mean that's kind of like the world isn't a kind place by default. The world at its core is adversarial. Everything is trying to eat everything else, and everything is trying to survive to the next generation. So the world at its core is balanced to not be a nice place.
Fair enough.
So give more than that. Where you don't have to be nice, you can be nice. Where you don't have to be polite, you can be polite. When people are being loud, you can be the calming presence in that moment. You can put yourself in their shoes and go, what would be the best thing right now for them? You can give more than you got but to bring the balance up for everybody. Not always an easy thing to do, and it's one of those that you're going to fall flat on your face trying it.
It's difficult to do when you're in a certain mindset. Do we want to take a break for that foamercial and then wrap up?
We can do a foamercial and then wrap up.
Okay.
We can do that. So here we are.
Okay.
Here at Feel It and Fix It, there are many products and services we use or dream about in our daily lives. They may not be a sponsor, but we can always dream. One of those is Buc-ee's. Because it really is as absurd as you've heard it is. Seriously, what can't you buy there? And we're back.
Okay. I want to get one of those in there for the anniversary. Okay.
Not sure what you just listened to, but
yeah.
We'll figure it out.
He picks those after. So you've taken this some places. It just happened organically. A lot of it I would have expected. You clearly had some things you need to work out with this particular topic. You definitely have an issue with your traffic, apparently with driving. And
well, it's one that's easy to... Man, the guy cut in front of me at the gas station just doesn't really...
Literally talking in the last episode about your hair trigger for the strangest things.
Sure.
It's just it's just so strange sometimes.
Sure.
Like the things that wind you right up.
Yep.
And apparently traffic.
I don't disagree at all.
Traffic.
There's a reason I like driving at night. So few cars. But deer, cats, turkeys.
But to be fair, thank you for that. The prompt was speaking of the internal struggles.
Mm-hmm.
When you understand that other people have internal struggles, and then you can... that's where their behavior is coming from. When you can kind of come to that place, that realization.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to rule you. Doesn't have to have a place in your life to take your energy and
Well, and
control it a little bit differently.
I think kind of the idea is acknowledge that people are going through stuff that you don't understand.
Yes. Even if
then you can look at like, okay, they're being kind of short, they're being kind of testy, they're withdrawn, they're grumpy, they're angry, whatever it happens to be. They're snapping at people. If you, instead of being inherently angry or irritated with the person, you can stop and just for a second go, I don't know what they're going through. They're obviously going through something. Or they have gone through a lot of somethings. And you can stop the cycle of letting whatever happened in their life or is happening in their life from ruining your life, making your day bad. Because if you allow it to make your day bad, then you're going to be snippy to the next guy, and you're going to make that guy's day worse. And it just perpetuates.
I have a feeling you just need to talk to yourself about this right now. So I'm glad that we have this forum for you to do that. Oh, that was the start of my medication alarm.
Gotcha.
Sorry. Yep.
It's all good.
Got that before
It's all
it
good.
started getting loud. Funny how this forum works for you like that sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah.
I'm gathering that.
I'm a chatty. I can get chatty.
It was fine. It's what you needed to do.
Well, and I don't know. I don't know. I can kind of sum it up a little bit, I guess, with the idea that you don't have to have a bad day because somebody else is.
Yeah. Yep.
And you don't have to let somebody else's bad day ruin yours.
That's true.
You can choose to be better. And if you have to tell yourself that, then, you start by telling yourself that.
Yeah.
I can choose to be better.
It's a process.
Yes.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. It's not a switch. It's a process.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm way better than I used to be. And
I
I still have my days.
You very much are better than
I had a day last week.
We all have them.
Yeah. Well, for me, it wasn't a person that did it. It was a series of very obnoxious equipment failures and company policies interacting with tools and equipment that I have access to, and it just made my day. It torqued me.
All right.
It torqued me. And I strove very
literally?
hard.
Did you torque literally? Anyway.
Oh, no. So, but I was trying to be very intentional with not letting that massive irritation that I was dealing with affect how I interacted with other people. Because I'm having a bad day because of a very specific set of circumstances that nobody else is currently dealing with, and it's not their fault and they don't deserve it. So I was being very intentful, if that's a word.
Thank you for sharing with that. Yes, it is.
With
intentional.
It's a better word. I was being very intentional in not allowing that situation to cause anybody else to have a bad day. And that might be why the topic kind of resonated a little bit. But
I could see that.
Because I was in the throes of... I was post-throws, I guess.
But honesty is what makes it more authentic.
Sure. I don't lie to you. I'm not going to lie to anybody else. I mean, come on. That's just not cool.
Is there anything you feel like you need to add this evening for this particular episode?
No, I can't say that anything is currently coming to mind.
Okay.
But I will say that whoever's out there, I hope you've enjoyed this last year.
Yeah. I mean, tried to be as real as we could.
Certainly. And we're planning on continuing for the foreseeable future. Yeah. And maybe we'll develop an actual format. Who knows?
Who knows? We're winging it right now. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you're not too annoyed by it.
Completely winging it. I hope that's part of the charm that you enjoy. And if not, we haven't heard otherwise. So, you can't blame us. In the absence of feedback, we're just going to keep going.
We're just going to keep going like this? Yep.
But I do very much hope that everybody out there has enjoyed this last year and are looking forward to the next one.
Yes.
And we'll do our best to keep coming and
keep it real. Talk about life and stuff and things.
So many things. And there's so
never
much
stops.
More. No. Fortunately, things never stop.
No, things never stop.
Yep. The good things, the bad things, the other things. Mm-hmm. The things never stop.
I'm publicly talking about basically how I'm so behind in the game and my binging. It's awful. But, that's all right.
Well, that's the point of the binge. Right. It's like you sit down and you just do it.
I could do it right now if I didn't really have to function. So,
yeah.
But here we are. Here we are.
This
is a priority. Other things are priorities. I can't actually pull myself away when I really need to. So I might not be too far in.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
Okay.
the thing. Those are the things we will continue to talk about for another year.
Yes, we will.
Life and stuff and things. But okay. If you are done, sir.
I think I'm good. I hope everybody else is.
Yes, absolutely. Hope that as well.
Okay. Well, I'm Fix It.
I'm Feel It.
We hope you join us in the future.
Until next week.
Y'all have a great one.